Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Sherwood Shakeup. I'm your host, Matt Weinglass, and we have a very special show today on this fine Tuesday afternoon here in Los Angeles. We decided today to do a special music episode. We're calling it Music in Entertainment. And we just had some incredible guests we lined up for today. I'm very excited to get to them soon, but I'll tell you, they're all musicians, they're all composers, but they all have a different background and what they're doing in the entertainment industry. We thought it'd be very cool to just get them all on the same show together. So all of you musicians out there in the entertainment industry at various stages of your career, you can take some advice from these professionals that are coming on with us. They're going to tell you about the different maneuvers, the inside game, how things have changed over the years with music in general, and how music and entertainment work together in all the different new platforms that have been created and all the different technologies. So it is kind of overwhelming when you step back and look at it. But if we just kind of dive in together, we'll figure this out, and we'll ask them some questions. And you guys feel free to chime in on some questions as well, and we'll try to read them live on the show. But yes, we will be having three totally different types of musicians on. They're all composers. We have Iggy, Elisavetsky. He's a sound engineer and composer. We have Tim Despic. He's a film composer. And we have my brother, my twin brother, Jeremy Weinglass. He is a concert pianist and a composer. We're going to have all three coming on today. So we're very excited about that. Again, get your questions ready, your comments, and we will, try to get them on and engage with our guests. So first off, let's go ahead right now, because actually we have our co-host. I'm going to get her right now onto the stream. Let's see here. We got, here we go. There she is. We have Lizette Santiago. How are you?
Hi, Matt. Yes,
Hey.
I am here in Sherman Oaks Hill, this beautiful, lovely street that is shared by many influential music people in the industry.
Awesome.
And I'm actually right outside Ignacio's Elisavetsky's house, the composer of the Brain Savers. I got to sit down and talk to him about the magic he created on the Brain Savers. Check it out. Iggy,
hey,
how are you? Thank you for having us. Oh my God, this is your second home or your first home?
Well, it depends. Sometimes it's my first home.
So Iggy, how did you get into the music industry world and become an amazing sound engineer?
I started as a guitar player. When I was 15 years old, I played professionally already in a big band in Argentina that played like big stadiums, like soccer stadiums, etc.
Wow.
So it was like a fusion jazz rock band, etc., called Arcoiris. So, but I was playing pretty much guitar for a lot of different bands and playing, gigs in clubs, in big clubs, and so it was a natural progression to become more interested in the sound engineering of things, because before you had to spend maybe $1 million to have a setup that you can record, because the technology was not there, right?
Speaking of which, how did you put all this together? Like, how long did it take you to
Well,
create
I have
this
a
whole...
degree in electrical engineering.
Oh,
So I know how to connect things. I know how to troubleshoot, all the electronics and fix things. So that's, and I'm very computer literate, so that helps.
That helps a lot. Like, this is a digital kind of board, right? Is
Yes.
it like...
Well, this is a controller that you can actually control. See, I'm controlling Pro Tools, which is and I can switch from different tracks. And this I can control. As you can see if I move that, you can see that screen moving.
Yeah.
So it's a controller, pretty much. It's a digital controller, which you can have a screen and you can have as a remote control, right? And you can arm tracks, you can move around, do all play, whatever.
Then the main monitor, is that what you pretty much start, like use that as a guide, or all the editing I know?
Well, mixing, right? This is your mixing board in your computer. That's your editing. monitor, and over there, if I'm doing a movie,
Uh-huh.
I will play the movie over there while I'm mixing.
Oh, that is really neat.
Yeah.
Like when Iggy did the Brain Savers audiobook for us. He did the original composing and everything on that too,
Yeah.
right? Sound engineer
Right.
for that. And I was one of the voiceover actors, and I remember seeing him work from inside here and doing everything outside there. Was that was that whole experience like fun for you, Iggy, to do that?
Oh wow! I never did anything like it.
Really?
It was my first time doing a project like that.
Wow.
It was, I mean, incredible. I when we finished, and you listen to the whole project, because when you first start doing it, you don't know where everything, how it's going to end. The idea is that you always have to know where the project is going.
Okay.
What's the final, what's the director vision in all the projects, because you may have your own vision, but the director is going some other way, and you have to agree with the director. You have to you have to try what he wants. And then if he doesn't like what he wants, maybe you can suggest something at that point. But it's always, with a producer, usually you have to do what the producer likes.
You've worked for other companies. You have experience with other higher end companies.
Sure. I mean, I mixed full feature movies for independent and for big studios, and I work on the music, and I work mixing. The music, it depends. Sometimes I write the music. Sometimes I have a composer here where we are mixing the music first, and then we place the music into the actual full feature film, and then we mix the whole thing.
You started off as a guitar player at 15. You
Yeah.
got into, did you, the sound engineering, was that something was that you went somewhere and someone said, hey, why don't we, did someone hire you?
Well, every time that you are in a band, you always go and do records, right?
Right.
Records, CD, whatever are now, or MP3s, whatever.
It's changed so much. Remember CDs and records
we
and
used to do
cassettes?
vinyls then. They were not even CDs
Oh,
when I
right.
started.
Wow.
So everything was vinyl, no CDs.
Okay.
And so you go to the studio. And you learn from being there and recording there many times. So you ask the engineer some questions, and then you learn a little bit as you go.
Okay.
Then you buy your first. When the first digital recorder came up in the market, which was an Alesis 8-track, it's called Alesis ADAT. So that was 8 tracks on a VHS tape. You can record 8 tracks of digital audio.
Oh,
now,
nice.
just listen though. Here you have unlimited tracks pretty much. You can have 100 tracks if you want. But there was 8 tracks. But you can do a lot with that. I mean, even the Beatles didn't record until the last album on 8 tracks.
Really?
Yeah,
Did
they
not
were
know
recorded
that.
mainly on 4 tracks. So,
Wow.
but you do, you kind of do the 4 tracks, then you lay them over onto 2, and then you have 2 more tracks to, you kind of remix the 4 into 2, and then you have 2 tracks free to do some stuff, right? To overdubs. But anyway, so
incredible.
once that becomes available, a lot of people started having home studios, in your house.
Yeah, home recording studios, like voiceover actors.
You have, then you can add, you have 8 tracks. You can add a second one, you have 16 tracks of digital.
Wow.
So you can record almost to the same quality as the big studios can do when that happened.
Did you come from a family that was, in the industry of music, or is this something you
My
just picked
dad
up yourself?
loved music.
Okay.
And he listened to music all the time in the house.
That's awesome.
So he turned me on to classical music. He took me to the Teatro Colón, which is one of the big theaters of classical music in Buenos Aires.
In Argentina.
Right?
Nice.
So he would listen to gospel music, Negro spiritual. He will listen to a lot of soulful music, and and I started listening to the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. Right?
Were they like your idol, or were they like?
Well, pretty much. I mean, I pretty much learned English with the Beatles, so I would read the lyrics that they come on the LP, right? And I will try to figure out what they mean, right? And I learned the pronunciation by listening to them. Nice. Now, my dad, listening to that music, he was going, I'm not sure. Music needs to have melody, harmony, and rhythm.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
they're still lacking on some of that. So, because, he loved classical music, all the major classical composers. So, but I think it was when Yesterday came out, and then he heard Let It Be. So then he says, see, they learn. See, now there is good melody, good rhythm, good harmony, and now they are pretty good.
So yeah, let's talk about your work on the Brain Savers.
Okay.
You got on board with that. Did you know Matt Weinglass before that happened? Like, how long did you know him? Or
yes.
It was his idea to bring you on, or you wanted to?
Well, I mean, I work with Martin, with Martin, I guess, for the ones who know him as Martin.
Martin. Martin.
He did Tupamaros, and Matt was the producer, I believe.
And so he brought you on board, or you came on board for Brain Savers, and
yes.
That, you said, was a whole new experience for you, and knowing that, would you want to continue working on something like that again in the future?
Sure, very interesting. I mean, the final project came out incredible.
Fantastic,
I was very proud of the project, and I show it to a lot of people.
Okay.
And everybody's, surprised that a big production like that, with so many talented actors, talented performers, yes.
I'm kidding.
And everybody very professional. So the project came out incredible. Yeah, I'm so proud of that.
Aww.
It was hard work, but it paid off.
So that must have been an experience for you to have like all these voice actors come in and seeing them from the minute they start to the end, their product, because we have to do it. When you're voice acting a project, especially like the audiobook we did Brain Savers, you have to do it, then we get direction from Matt, you have to do it again, sometimes a third time or a fourth time. So it's like, so when it all comes together and you pick the best takes of the actor, that must have been a unique process for you this time around.
Well, that part is similar to when you're singing, right? Because when you're doing a song, the singer or the artist will sing maybe a little part. Then he he or she does the part again, does a different interpretation, and you keep all those takes. Gotcha. So then you have to edit with the best takes, which one fits better the song, right? And you always have to believe, right? Same thing with an actor. When a voice actor says the part or says the dialogue, right? You gotta believe what they're saying.
Right, you know. It's not always just, it sounds good. It's gotta be believable.
It's gotta be believable.
Feel
you gotta believe the lyrics of the song or of the line of the dialogue. You gotta believe what he's saying.
So you see voiceover actors, it's not always just, it's sounding good. It's gotta really feel
that you are the
genuine.
Actual part.
Right, that's amazing.
Correct,
Now,
Yes.
Can you give us some samples of something you've put together for us?
Sure. I mean, I can play the Brain Savers main theme and show you how you can change different things and make it sound completely different. So you have a main theme and you can make it, softer or a little bit more.
We all remember the main theme too.
Yeah.
Brain
so
Savers.
here,
Do
for
it.
example. The drums and the bass and the piano going on the strings. So, but what happens if you take the drums out?
Whoa, that's a big difference.
So it sounds softer, nicer, not as hard. synthesizers here, guitars, bass, and so everything.
What a gift, Iggy, to be able to, it must be so much fun for you to like play with everything and figure out what sounds good, what doesn't sound good, or do you ever get like frustrated, or it's more like just enjoyment always?
No, it's enjoyment pretty much.
Okay.
So it's not, you know.
And that's the final. What advice, of course, what advice would you give for fellow up and coming music industry people who want to get into sound engineering or want to experience this for themselves?
Well, I would say to continue doing music, continue learning and practicing. That's always the learning is never ends. You know, learn a little bit at a time and then become, you know, do your own project. If you are a musician or you're not an engineer, just, you know, or you play maybe an instrument, try to record a little bit on the computer and do some overdubs. If you're singing, sing on top of what you wrote, and practice. That's, you know, practice makes perfect. You can ask people at the music stores, you know, hey, I'm doing this, what's the best software, what's the best instrument, what's the best plugin, what's the best thing for what I'm doing, for example. And even the guy at the music store, maybe also himself a guitar player or a keyboard player or somebody says, hey, oh, you have a studio at your house? Yeah, I'm setting up something. You want to come over or something? So, So the relationship and the you know, public relations is something that you need to learn, and you need to relate to other people.
Absolutely.
And you know, because you're not just by yourself in this world. And you know, I learned a lot by being a fly on the wall.
Right. Absolutely.
You know, so being a fly on the wall when you are in a project like this, or you are in one of the best bigger studios or something, just sit down on the couch, don't ask questions, you know, just watch.
Just observe.
Just observe. And that's the best thing you can do.
Well, there you have it. Iggy's beautiful home, his recording studio, where all the magic happens. For more information to find out more about Iggy's work and his music, you can go to iggymusic.net. And you can also check out the Brain Savers, now available on Audible, that of course the wonderful Iggy composed. And we look forward to working with Iggy soon again on the next big business audiobook. In the meantime, my name is Lizette Santiago here in lovely Sherman Oaks Hills. And back to you, Matt.
Thank you so much, Lizette. That was awesome. What a great insight we got to Iggy's studio. I personally spent a lot of time with Iggy these past few months as we were getting our project Brain Savers ready to go. And as Lizette said, it is now available on Audible. We had a huge cast, a 18-person cast that came in and voiced all these different characters, and you know, we got the performances. We had some incredible music that you guys got to hear a little bit from Iggy. But even just with all of those elements, somebody had to put it all together too. So Iggy was also the guy that just kind of took all the technical stuff from all the performances, all the music, threw it all together, and we were able to bust out this awesome project that people are just giving some pretty good reviews on. So we're very excited about the Brain Savers and working again with Iggy in the future. I should mention this because our next guest is going to be coming in with us very soon, and we actually had to get some additional composing for the Brain Savers, and so I went ahead and called my brother up, who had just moved to Florida, and he actually had some perfect songs ready to go that we were able to put just in the right places. We just needed just a couple things we're missing. And it was just such a great collaboration. I was able to get a couple of those songs into the mix. So you guys have to check out the Brain Savers on Audible, featuring all of these amazing, talented actors and musicians from the Sherwood community, and Iggy's music, and of course, my brother's music as well. And I'd like to now bring in our next guest. He is a pianist, composer, and speaker who performs for all types of events with 30 plus years of professional experience. My brother, Jeremy Weinglass. Welcome to the show. Hey.
Hey, what's up, bro? Greetings from Florida. We're on that time change now, so I'm 3 hours ahead of you.
That's right.
That's wild.
You're 3 hours ahead, and you've been here in LA with me for so many years.
Yeah.
And now you just recently made the move to Florida. So it's been quite a transition, I would imagine, to make a move like that, especially with your career that was all basically right here in LA, along with me and all the other people that come to LA, the entertainment capital of the world. And what is that like to just kind of up and go? And what was that transition like for you? I'd like to hear about that.
That's a heavy question. I get that all the time, and I get it in welcome arms out here in Florida. People say, welcome to freedom, welcome to just everyone's so happy out here. It feels, as soon as we got here, it was the best move we could have made. It was scary because it was a leap of faith. Like you said, I mean, I was in Los Angeles over 20 years established. We grew up in California. I mean, our whole lives basically. And to just make that big of a change, it obviously the world turned upside down the last few years. So it had to do with raising our daughter, your niece, Melody, and giving her a good opportunity in school and starting over. No, it was, I mean, for a musician, for all of us, like when the pandemic hit, it was like we lost all of our gigs. My primary focus my whole life has been playing for people. I love human interaction. So that's always been my joy. I mean, if you go back, and I appreciate Iggy's path, because music is such a big category of what can I do with music. And you could at least, I mean, whether you want to be on a stage or whether you want to be behind the scenes and scoring for a film, there's all these in-betweens, there's all these elements to it. I know for me, those are two huge career paths to choose between. And for me, I feel like I wanted to be on stage, wanted to take that path. And so doing that, I mean, it was fairly successful in Los Angeles. I mean, and basically I got a head start at an early age. And as you know, I mean, we grew up in the arts, and we were like, I mean, we're well-rounded. You too. We played bands, we played rock bands, and you played bass and drums. People may not know that, but we had the little Weinglass band going, and we grew up in a choir as well. So we're very musically educated all around. But I felt like I wanted to keep going with it.
Very cool. I mean, it sounds awesome. I mean, you're setting a great example for others who maybe, have similar circumstances, and you have to kind of deal with that dilemma of, hey, I don't want to, compromise my career, but at the same time, I want to be in a place that I don't, you don't want to be stuck in a place that doesn't feel right for you and your family, but you also have your career. So I think we all have to deal with that balance, career and family, and just well-being. How do we balance all these things? I mean, we got to do a whole nother show just on that, on just life balance,
right?
Life and work balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because the pandemic, I think it gave a lot of people an opportunity to grow through challenges. And for me, it was an opportunity to, okay, there's no live gigs. So now what? There's the whole online experience. There's putting out more content, working on composing more, putting out music videos on YouTube, releasing music on Spotify, live streaming. I never would have thought of live streaming if it wasn't for shutting down live gigs, because I wanted to keep performing. So sure enough, on my trusty keyboard in our living room, we figured out a way, and I was streaming on YouTube and Facebook, and then eventually Twitch. Is that my joy to do fully? No, not exactly. So I knew we needed a change because it wasn't sustainable in Los Angeles. So it was a big move. I mean, I didn't want to leave family, leave you, leave our whole community. My wife and I, by the way, my wife, Kim, obviously she's my business partner. So this is a big decision for us as our family, a business decision, a family decision. And 6 months ago, we up and left. And as soon as we got here, it's been amazing. To answer the full question, it was.
I was going to ask.
Yeah.
That transition. I mean, did it take a little bit to get going, or did you just dive right in? What was that like?
I'm laughing because, I knew the school system would be good. We knew the traffic would be better. We knew people were going to be awesome. our community, and we were able to buy a house. All these things were like, I kind of knew were going to be awesome, but I was expecting that it would take a little while to get gigs going, because we're starting from scratch. I was willing to take my keyboard and play at coffee shops and do whatever you had to do. And it was the opposite. Right when I hit the ground running, and within, I would say, about 6 weeks or so, I was able to have a full schedule, equal, if not better, than what I had in Los Angeles at my best. So the business is booming. I was just kind of felt there was magic in the right place, the right time as well. So I immediately started playing at an Italian restaurant on 2 nights a week, playing at a new music piano bar that opened up in St. Augustine. So we're kind of around the coast in Florida, and so I could get around Jacksonville, around St. Augustine and St. John's, and so basically almost a full schedule. So pretty grateful, pretty happy. It feels like it was the best decision we could have made.
Very cool. So let's talk about, you mentioned these platforms that you're on, because I know there's a lot of other musicians out there that it can feel overwhelming. You have all these different options, and you only have so much time in the day. And, I know we've discussed this, and like, I personally, like, I don't even know where I'd begin. Even though, my music is, I just do for fun, but I can't imagine it being as serious a professional as you are. Like, how can you even wrap your head around all these different places? I mean, there's Twitch, and you have Spotify, you have your own website, you got all the basic stuff, the Instagram and the Facebook and all that, the YouTube. I mean, am I missing? Is there anyone I'm leaving out?
No, you mentioned a lot of them. I mean, it's a lot. It is a lot. I can't, but because I guess we kind of saw this coming. So without the live gigs, we were able to work on Spotify, work on YouTube. So we spent a good 1.5, 2 years putting out regular content. So the regular content was, and I did it we're like, this is what we're doing. We're like, I'm putting out a YouTube video every Thursday. I'm going to live stream on Friday, and we're going to do other social media posts and work on Spotify and release albums. So I released a Christmas album. I released a wedding cover album. So we got a lot done, got a lot checked off the list, which we honestly would never have gotten to if it was just business as usual. So we created these, we really worked on these platforms, moved to Florida, and now we knew this was going to happen. So now it's like, can we sustain the live gigs and now come back and do it all at the same time? And so that's what we're doing. We're attempting to do right now. So it takes focus and keeping your intention very clear. And we're learning a lot too. We're learning a lot. We're taking this elite musician course at the moment. We're like 4 weeks into a 12-week course. I'm learning a ton. I mean, I could do a whole show with you just to share those aspects. But I mean, to summarize, it's very much about content, consistency, and creativity. And there's so much opportunity if you stay focused and know the little tricks of each platform. So it really is. We are coming back to YouTube. We're coming back to Spotify and a little live streaming. That's not my primary focus, but I do have an opportunity. One of the gigs I have is playing at the Jax Airport, which is pretty cool. They feature artists there, and so because they're actually super cool, they're super chill. So it's the one gig we've managed to combine. So you have to be creative. So can I perform and live stream at the same time? And so that's actually worked out very well. I just came from doing it today. So I'm playing for everybody in the airport. And then also I've got my phone recording the live stream. And so we're getting a lot of engagement on both ends. So I can make that work. So that's literally one way to do two things at the same time. So
that's great. That's awesome. So let's talk about this video that you released yesterday, because I'm very excited about this one. Because and for those of you just joining us, I'm here with my brother, professional musician, composer, concert pianist, Jeremy Weinglass, coming to us from Florida. We're here in Los Angeles right now. And this video that came out yesterday, I was very happy to see that, because we had booked you on the show a while back, and then the timing worked out that this is when you took a trip back to LA. And that's weird to say, like taking a trip to LA, because you were here with me so many years. You came out to visit, to do some work, and we were able to squeeze in this this little shoot, which if you want to elaborate on. Yes.
So yeah, it's we had a little break from YouTube, understandably, because of the move and everything, going cross country, changing our lives. So this was our very first release in 9 months, yesterday, back on YouTube. And so strategically, I just want to kind of get in the heads for musicians. There's within performing, you have and arranging or composing, you have this choice. Do you want to work on original music, or do you want to do covers? And the answer to that is do both, but have a balance. And if you prefer one or the other, it's very important to dabble in the other if you're not as comfortable. And the reason is because, well, first of all, we all want to have our own voice. So if you say I don't write music, I say, come on, like that's where it's at. So first of all, but if you're doing that exclusively, you're missing out on the opportunity to play covers and do arrangements where you can make them your own. So there's always something creative you can find, even if it's a simple song. And also, if you want to build your platform, like on YouTube, people are not going to search for you. I'm sorry, they're not searching for Jeremy Weinglass just yet. I mean, maybe some people are, but mostly they're going to be searching for Lady Gaga. And especially with the Oscars and the Grammys that just happened, these are songs that you want to stay up to date. So I don't want to be that old guy that doesn't keep up with the new music. So the trick is see what songs are coming out, what the kids are listening to, as they say. But then what song will work best on piano? So that's what I did. So that's the precursor for this. And so with this Lady Gaga song, I had an opportunity flying back to Los Angeles, as you said, that's weird to say, for some weddings. And I did a 3-week trip out there. That was back in October. And Kim didn't come with me, so she usually films for me. So thank goodness you were free. So this was a twin project, the Weinglass team up.
I wasn't doing anything that day. So
yeah, no, you weren't.
I'd come meet up with you. Well, let's take a look at the Lady Gaga video just dropped yesterday.
It's a Hold My Hand from the motion picture Top Gun, and so that's gonna start getting some hits too as the Oscars are coming up shortly.
Here we go. Oh, look at that intro.
Weinglass action. See,
love it.
So we went back. This is the Keyboard Concept Store, my favorite store I used to do a lot of videos at. And I thought this time, why play just one piano when I could play on 6? So this is the trickery on this. So here's the song.
The idea is piano.
And these are all amazing pianos I got to play on. Comes a little pause in the music, and I think switch pianos.
Okay, yeah,
there it is. I went from a Yamaha to a Bosendorfer. These are awesome pianos. I wish I had more time to play on them. What did we do this in like 2 or 3 takes?
We did 2 or 3 takes. We ended up using one of the takes, like the whole take, right? This isn't edited. It's just
unedited.
One full take.
That's cool. That's shot. You can come around the other side. I knew I could count on you. You knew what's up.
So what I like about this, I mean, extremely creative. You're taking a Lady Gaga song. You're in this environment with these incredible pianos, and let's just throw them all together and really show. That's I really like.
Yep. Big break. Subscribe.
The subscribe. Man, we got to do more of that.
See, the placement was perfect. It was right at it was the longest break. So you had a little pause. So here is this piano number 5 now. There, the upright. it might be hard to hear, but you can tell the upright's not quite as full as the others. I can. I'm like, get to the bigger one. I think this is a $150,000 piano right here. I wish I had one someday. And that's the shot I used for the thumbnail right there.
Awesome.
It's gone. Cool.
Great, man. I'm so glad it turned out well. That's awesome. And it's such a, like I said earlier, it's a kind of a unique take at as you were explaining, the taking a song that people recognize and just kind of doing your take on it. And that's the kind of stuff people are going to be typing in. They want to see on YouTube, and your video will come up. So it's a great move for musicians. And I suspect you got that idea long before even YouTube existed, because isn't that the whole essence of live performance as a pianist? Like, you have your original songs that you compose, but you also have to squeeze in stuff that you know you're going to get people's attention, right? That's how you've been doing that for years. Just say, hey, reading that audience, saying, let me throw something in that's going to get them to go, oh, I didn't know that song was going to be played. And you kind of get them over in your area, in your vicinity. That's like before YouTube. That's how you got people kind of in your vicinity, because you gave them something that they were looking for.
Yeah. And I mean, so I guess a couple things there. I would say, as clever as this idea is, you got to stay true to your heart. For me, it's not this is not my, like, oh gee, I can't wait to like come up with something and throw down some mashup of Lady Gaga, do something just for the clicks. But like you said, it's to get attention. It's to show something creative. It's a cool idea. Like, I mean, it wasn't my best performance. I'm switching pianos. It was hard. It wasn't like, but it was a cool idea. So I think that's something that's very important to be creative, especially today, because we have to stick out of everyone else. I mean, everyone's putting out a lot of content. And so it's, if you want to expand your heart on what matters to you, like your original music, this is one way to do that, is to take cover songs and do something clever with them, creative. And then people are looking for that. People are searching all the time. You can see on these certain sites, you can see what people are searching for. And people do want to learn piano. They literally will type in Lady Gaga and piano or Hold My Hand. So that hopefully that algorithm sends them to a video like this.
Excellent. So I want to ask you something, switching gears here for a second, because this is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this episode. Not just because, we want musicians to learn new skills and techniques, how to build their careers, but me personally, I wanted to ask you this actually, because I've been kind of bombarded recently by a lot of emails that come into my inbox, and they're coming from a lot of musicians. I usually get them a lot from, actors, cinematographers, people looking for work. I think they find me on IMDb. They find our company, Sherwood Players. They know we have a bunch of projects in development. You can see this, it comes up. So I understand where they get the information. I understand the eagerness, to taking initiative like that. But I have to say, it's been overwhelming recently how many musicians, composers that are emailing me. I don't know who they are. They don't reference anything other than, I see you're working on a project. Please listen to my music. Is there any way I can get involved in your film? Please, please, please check out my samples. I don't know. It's a lot. And I don't know if you have a take on that, or what you want to, why you think that's happening more now. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean that's one strategy people think that could work. I don't think it's that effective. Obviously, I've had a streak of people getting hold of me as well, thinking I'm on the going to vote for them for their Grammy nominations and so forth. But I think the best place to focus your energy isn't to email a bunch of people that you want to like work with necessarily. It's to spend that time on your content. I mean, content is so important now. And I want to give a little tip because maybe people don't know this. This is my tip to give musicians and content makers, anyone really, especially on Instagram and Facebook right now, because it used to be just recently. We all know how important comments and likes have been. Like, oh, I need to get people to see my stuff, but it's changed. The game changer was TikTok. So TikTok said, you know what? We don't care about the algorithm doesn't care about likes and comments on TikTok. People are scrolling fast. They see a 15-second little twerking video and whatever's captivating to people. There's content. So you watch content there. And so the algorithm doesn't care about that. The algorithm cares more about the duration of time you're watching something. So it's just the view. So which is kind of, you think about it, that's a big difference because now it's like on Facebook, Instagram, what used to be is that it would take a really long time to build your fan base and to get likes and to get friends to look at stuff so you can get people to see it. But on TikTok, someone could, on your second or third video, you could go viral just because it was that good or that captivating or that emotionally triggering to people that they shared it a bunch of times, and you could come out of nowhere. You didn't matter how many friends you had or how many comments or likes you have. It just was the content, and that's good. So what happens is, because that works so well, Instagram and Facebook have adopted that just recently. So now it's not the algorithm is because that works. The platforms change; they copy each other. So now, in fact, content's more important than ever. So on Instagram, a good idea, there's posts, there's stories, as we know, just your daily things that can disappear, and that's good to do. But there's reels, and reels is what I'm trying to get into doing more, and that's could be regular content. If you can create something really good, that's a much better use of your time than trying to work on these. Like, that's a good way to show you to make fans that'll draw into you. And if you can create something with your music. And it could be as simple as you could put it to, you could do so many things. You could, if you're a composer, you can show your process, just like Iggy showed you on the interview. You could do a clip of your Pro Tools device and how you do tracks, and you can do that under 60 seconds. And that's very interesting. People want to see behind the scenes. You could show how you line it up with a movie. You can talk because people want to see you. They want to see actual people. And musicians are notorious for being shy or not wanting to be in the camera, but that's ship has sailed. You have to get over yourself and talk to the camera. And then, so you have, I just gave at least 3 different ideas, but you can come up with 4 or 5 ideas and rotate them and do them daily. And it doesn't have to be that big of a work. You're just showing people. That's your best bet.
That's great. I think this is, if I'm a musician listening to this right now, I'm going to be taking notes because you just gave some incredible advice to how musicians can utilize their day and be efficient with their time, with what you're putting out there, what kind of content you're putting out there, and to be noticed and stick out of the pack. So this is all amazing stuff. I have one more question for you before we're going to go on to our next guest. But I do know that you mentioned earlier that the Grammys were last night, or no, it's 2 nights ago. We had the Grammys. I always remember the Grammys was this big thing that we, musicians would always like. That's like the ultimate goal, to get there, get to the Grammys. Maybe 20 years ago, I don't know. Today, does it feel like that's still the goal for musicians? Is that the ultimate place? I mean, you watched it. What was your general assessment of?
Well, okay.
Yeah.
So, what they aired on TV is different than what the actual full Grammy experience is. So what we saw on TV, I'm going to just say was underwhelming, to be nice. Completely not inspiring to me as a musician. I don't think there was hardly, I mean, there's a handful. By the way, Adele won. I was happy about that. I actually did a video of Easy on Me. And of course, thank goodness she won for best vocal performance. And there was a brand new artist that sounded like she was very interesting, had an eclectic jazz style. I forget her name at the moment. That was very interesting. And there's a handful of things that were interesting. But overall, I would say the music's been dumbed down so much. And it's in this just space of just no, like not. It's hard to imagine what the artist is trying to give positively to the world when some of the message and lyrics are so not inspiring to say nicely. But that's not to say that there's a ton of awards that are given behind the scenes that aren't shown on CBS. Instead, CBS is showing I guess I want to say a devil worshipping segment over showing like the best classical artist or the best. There's a whole bunch of world music. There's a lot of really important awards that were given out that we didn't get to see. So there's a disconnect between. So when you say what a goal could be, there's a lot of goals to still get a Grammy. I would love to get a Grammy. There's a lane to get a Grammy and be an honorable award. But what they show on TV is completely not. It's not the whole picture.
Okay, so to summarize, absolutely. Achieving a Grammy is still an incredible place to get to as a musician. There's just this disconnect. You're basically saying what's being aired isn't necessarily what's happening, and so those are two separate things. So that's
yeah.
Good.
I have a couple friends who have won Grammys. I have a Lily Halen on violin has won a Grammy before. I have friends that are playing in the Grammys. That's a huge accomplishment to be one of the string players. Adrian Woods, Chris Woods, those guys. One that played on my album.
I remember Chris. Yeah,
Leah Zegger. These cats get they're in the circles, and I'm very blessed to know them or to collaborate with some people. But so it's a high honor to be associated with Grammys. But as I said, what you see on the TV sometimes it depends. It can be questionable.
Well said.
Yeah.
Jeremy Weinglass, our composer, live performer, 30 years plus experience in the industry. Thanks for being with us. Can you stay a little longer? Because I wanted you to hang out. Do you have a few minutes?
I do have a few minutes. I'd love to see your next guest.
Okay.
I know him personally.
I know you know him personally, so I wanted to make sure you could stay for a few minutes with us before you have to go. But this next guest of ours, I'm very excited to have him. You introduced us a little while ago. And this is just a Hollywood story of this is what it's about: networking and introducing people and putting good talented people in a room together. And so I love it when we can see that happening, we can witness it, and we can also experience it. So this next guest, he's a British Canadian film composer. He writes for movies, TV, video games, and commercials. Please welcome to the show, Tim Despic. Tim.
Hi.
Hey.
What's up,
How
mate?
are you?
Welcome, Tim. Thank you
very much.
Being here with us. And a big thanks to my brother for introducing us.
Yes, over a game of darts, if I remember rightly.
Darts. I miss playing darts with you, Tim.
I miss playing darts with you as well.
Oh man, we're too far away.
Yeah,
I got to come back more often now.
Yeah, we're due a game for sure.
Yes. So I'll let people know that we did meet in playing darts casually. It's friendly, but one of the reasons I know, Jeremy, that you wanted us to meet was that we have a film in the works, in development. We're about to go into pre-production. It's called Confessions of a Union Buster. And I know, Jeremy, you highly recommended that I meet Tim. Tim, as a film composer, it was just such a great opportunity to meet you and talk and get to know you and your music. And I'm so happy to know that we're going to be working together on this film. So this is
it's great. Nice. So am I. Very much so.
Yeah. So I'm glad you're on with us today, because I want to get into it. I want to talk about film composing and stuff. But before we do that, Jeremy, do you have anything else you want to add before we let you go? Because I want to get into some film composing with Tim here. Anything else?
Yeah, well, I'm just lucky to have Tim. We've collaborated a bit too. You've helped produce some of my music, and so that's been amazing. And I feel like I get a little spoiled lane here because I get to perform all the time, and then I also get to collaborate, and how my music gets to be placed in things. I don't have to work the crazy hours you do, Tim. You work your butt off, and you get like these. Now you're getting these awards too at these movies and doing some major stuff. And so, you know, well, the work pays off. But I'm just excited to be able to collaborate with you because you know what's up in the film.
No, it's always been great, especially with your piano album. It's been a while since we did one, but that's how we started collaborating.
Exactly.
Yeah, producing those.
Wait, how long have you guys been collaborating? How many years?
About 4.
Yeah, 4 years.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's probably about 4 years we started. Yeah.
So you guys didn't just meet in the bar playing darts and yeah.
Well, we met through some friends at a party. So we're with cool peeps, real cool peeps.
Yeah, we were hanging out first. I mean, I knew Jeremy was a piano player, but we were hanging out first independently of that, and it was only when he had done a recording of a grand piano outdoors up on a hill that I remember watching the video, which looked great, but I remember just thinking, what happens with the wind and those microphones and stuff? And it was at that point when we came and said, you know, do you think it's a way we can do some stuff where we can get a sound that's going to work better maybe than the technique he'd been using? And that's when we started really, you know, we were collaborating in the sense that Jeremy was, it's very much Jeremy's writing, but I was sort of helping in the production of putting the albums together and getting the sound he wanted right for the albums. Really.
Yeah, exactly. He did an amazing job. So we already know we work well together. So we're just excited to do it again, and then as a full collaboration on the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
With Matt, so
yeah, no, I can't wait to work with both of you guys on this film. It's going to be awesome.
Cool.
So
I am going to get ready. I have a meeting engagement, but this is perfect timing. I'll let you guys take it from here.
Sure thing. But how can people find you, Jeremy? They want to look up your music. What's the best way?
Well, it's pretty easy. My website's jeremyweinglass.com, and then also if you're just on any of the sites, like you can find me on Spotify. My channel's doing pretty good. I have 1 million streams now, I think. So it's pretty awesome. So if you're on Spotify, you can just easily search me there, or YouTube, or wherever.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jeremy, for being with us today.
Excellent. All right, guys.
We had a great time. Very cool. I can't wait to you come back to LA. We can hang out and work on the next project.
I'm hoping it might be in May. We'll see. It's coming up. Okay.
All right. Jeremy Weinglass.
All right. Take care.
All right.
See you, mate.
See you next time. All right.
Okay.
And we're here now with Tim Despic, British Canadian film composer, writing for a slew of projects in all different mediums. I'm just happy to have met you and have you in the network with me and being able to kind of learn more about film composing and the process of film composing, because it's something that I know a lot of musicians aspire to do, and they don't necessarily ever get to that place, and they never truly get into that arena. And so I'd like to talk about what it's like being in that arena. But first, can we just kind of hear first how you got started in the industry in the first place, and what was that transition like to film scoring?
I'd always written music from a young age. I think it was probably 20 years ago when Pro Tools first introduced the ability, or certainly the first time I'd seen it, the ability to import QuickTime into a Pro Tools session and write to picture, and actually the ability to line up very fine details to an actual frame, a precise frame. That's when I first started actually writing to picture, which kind of changed everything for me. I think I took the trailer from the Matrix and took the music out and rewrote stuff in my own way to it, practiced doing it on videos like that, and got into it from there. But I was still playing in bands and doing that, the side of things. I actually first came to Hollywood, or to LA to record with a band. Came over a few times. It was the band that that came here. But I'd been, I always had the composing. I'd always been doing the composing as well. And at different times, one had taken over from the other. But it was probably 20 years ago it all started.
That's a lot of years investing into something that you love, and clearly you're seeing the results from that. And let's dive specifically into the process of composing for a film.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of things about. I mean, I'm learning in real time as we work right now and talk about approach and stuff like that. I've heard it said different ways though. Like is the music that final ingredient that everyone kind of says, okay, this is that final piece of the puzzle, or how much is the music actually a factor up front before the movie is shot? Like how do you?
Well, there's yes. I mean, it is one of the final pieces of the puzzle in the sense that it takes place in post, and you can't get things timed to perfection until you have supposedly the picture lock, which is an expression that doesn't necessarily mean the same thing anymore. Because back in the days of tape, once you had the picture lock, it was not changing. In this day and age, the term picture lock means apparently not going to change, but still can, because but it's something you need something close to the very finished product to be able to get those details that need to be timed to perfection can't be done until you get there. So from that point of view, the real specific stuff happens, and the actual recording of the final composition wouldn't happen till very much at the end stage, past that picture lock. But one of the things that's changed, and I think it's interesting watching that movie Babylon, where you kind of see a history of Hollywood, and one of the things you see in there is that in the era of silent movies, I mean, they called them silent because nobody was talking, but they were wall-to-wall music from start to finish. And it's only when the talking came in that the role of the music changed. But what existed back then as well, due to the way technology was, that the composer was hired, they wrote what they wrote, went in with an orchestra and recorded it, and that was the finished product. The director didn't hear what was going to happen until the finished product was there. And if the director didn't like that finished product, well, they'd have to rehire the orchestra and go all over again from scratch. So there really wasn't much choice back then. The luxury of technology has allowed temp scores to be, when they're at the editing stage, a film's going to sound very weird without any music, even at the early stages when the score hasn't been written. So pieces of music are lifted from any. I mean, the thing is, when a temp score is being done, when an editor's just placeholding some music to keep the edit together, they can pick from, because it's not being broadcast, they can pick from any score that exists as a recording and put it in just to have music in the edit to give the emotion if something's supposed to be scary or sad or funny, the relevant music to fit that. So the music plays a role in the temp score. One of the problems can be when a director becomes too attached to that temp score to be able to hear it any other way. But the reason that temp score is there is because of how important a role the music is playing, because without the music, it's going to be hard to watch an edit with nothing and say to people, well, just imagine that this has got more of this emotion or more of that via the music. Something has to be there. So that's where the temp score comes. So it's so important, really, that temp scores exist even when music hasn't been written, because it needs to be there in the right places,
I think it's a fascinating concept, temp scoring, because you don't see that in any of the other facets of filmmaking. We don't see the closest I can think of is in acting. You'll have your stand-in before the actor comes in, but nobody gets attached to the stand-in.
Yes, exactly.
You're just waiting for that A-lister to walk in and be ready to shoot the actual scene.
Exactly.
But I hear what you're saying. You're saying, like, because these temp scores are so important, because we have to trigger that emotion up front. We have to understand what that's going to feel like, and if it's in there and the director gets too stuck on it, that seems like that can be a problem.
It's also an association with the brain, almost like a sort of, Pavlov's dog kind of theory. I mean, imagine if John Williams came along and wrote a theme for Superman that was just as good or better than the original one. But then you watch Superman without the Superman theme, with a different tune in place, or Indiana Jones with a different tune, you wouldn't be able to handle it because you associate hearing that with what you're seeing.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, in the end, you know how many times an edit of a film in the editing stages, you'll watch an edit of the film several hundred times in total if you add up all the sections together. So by that point, it's almost programmed in the direction it's going.
Right. Wow, that is incredible. And we are playing with people's emotions when we're talking about music and film scoring. We're literally suggesting how we want them to emote in a particular part of the story, or in a particular moment in the scene. And I think it's fascinating stuff. I mean, you're manipulating these emotions. And I think a lot of times people don't realize it. The viewer they're focusing on the story. They're invested in these characters, and they're not even thinking. It's all subconscious that the music is triggering their emotions. So I think it's a fantastic concept when it's done right.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
So can I ask you about your experience working on the feature film Fall? Because I was able to see listen to some of your music on that. It's incredible job, by the way, that you did on
Thank
that. And then I realized Jeffrey Dean Morgan is one of the stars in the film. Some other ones as well. What was it like taking on that job? And is that what you consider kind of one of your bigger jobs to date, or what was that?
Yeah, I mean, it was a huge amount of work. Various reasons. It ended up reaching a point where I wasn't going to be able to take my foot off the gas at all, or take a day off for a very long time, and had to sort of cancel Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's and everything and just go straight through, because we suddenly had this finishing date and what was in the grand scheme of things a very score heavy film. Some films will have, I mean, there'll be big sort of Marvel films, if you sit and listen you don't always notice it, but those will have music for sort of 90% of the way through. And there are other films. I think Empire of Light was one that I watched recently with Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross did the music. And, in the first half of it, you don't really hear much at all. And maybe the score comes in towards the end, but comparatively speaking, as a proportion of the film, very little music in that. And this one was, for the kind of film it was on the heavier side of scoring. There was a lot. So it was a big job in terms of just the sheer volume that needed to be written in a very short space of time. It was pretty immense. It was a challenge. I'm still recovering from it now.
So I would like to ask you, as a director, and as a director who plans to move into production on a feature film, working with you, and I plan to work with other musicians in the future as well, and other composers, and I would just like to know, from your vantage point, what type of directing style are you looking for, where you can be the best you can be? What kind of things are you looking for, or what kind of red flags are you trying to avoid? Because I know we directors, we have all sorts of approaches we take to our projects, but I just want to see from your vantage point.
Yeah, it's a good question, because the two parts of it might sound contradictory, but they balance each other out in a sense. On the one hand, you want the freedom to not be tied down to a temp score which says, you have to do it like this. This is the only way it can sound. It's got to replicate this theme without ripping it off. You want the freedom to be able to try and write what you think is your best ideas for it. At the same time, if you had a total blank canvas, you could do something that is perfectly good, but not what the director had in mind. And if you're serving the film, you really want to serve the film, and you want to be singing off the same page. So I think that knowing what a director wants, what direction they're going to go in, is better than having a stab in the dark and coming up with two completely different ideas, even if they're both perfectly valid artistically. You've got to work together and you've got to serve the film. So understanding what it is the director wants ultimately in terms of the feel and everything, but then also having the freedom to really be able to experiment and come up with the ideas you want. I mean, I tend to just come up with a lot in the early stages, take the essence of the film, walk away from it, and come up with a lot of very different ideas, like a whole album's worth. And then be able to say to the director, you know, I don't care which of these you throw in the bin, even if it's 90% of them, as long as there's one that sticks. I'm good with that. It's more I'm experimenting various routes, various melodies to give options, and then if there's one that really stands out to the director, then we're in the right direction.
Tim, what advice would you give other musicians, composers that are looking to break through into the film scoring arena?
If they're at the really early stages, my advice is go to law school and become a music lawyer. Because you'll spend the rest of your life looking at them going, God, that looks good. But I mean, if they're already on that path and they're destined for that path, then I think the most important thing is don't forget about being a composer as opposed to just a film composer. I think that there was a time, just like we were talking about the silent movie era of Hollywood, when the concept of being a composer and scoring for film was completely new. You had composers, and then suddenly there was this fringe thing called being a film composer. And the way pop music and rock and everything evolved, and classical music and orchestral music is no longer the mainstream way of consuming music, then the dominant way in this era of working in orchestral music is film. It's the most recognized way, and it's where these, you know, the big orchestral recordings that are coming in for film scores. Because of that, I feel like everyone who's trying to be a composer is being a film composer, and fewer people are being a composer. And I would also say, so in the same way to those people trying to get into it, don't spend your life in front of a computer. You've got to do it. Nowadays, a composer would never have been in front of a computer before. Now, to be a film composer, you have to be for the film composing bit. But you sometimes have to step away from just programming things and all that precision stuff with technology, and be in a completely separate environment where you're just playing for the sake of playing. You're playing instruments and composing in traditional sense, because you're going to come up with other ideas and come up with really your own. Be true, have your own voice is the other thing. A lot of people are trying to try and sound like Hans Zimmer, for instance, and it's all very good. There's people out there who are, you know, I meet young sort of graduates who are just brilliant at what they do, brilliant at replicating that sound, but there's so many people who can make that sound now. So you've really got to stick to being your own composer regardless of film.
So you're saying don't lose your voice.
Don't lose your voice. Have your own voice. Yeah. I mean, you have to, there's an element of you that has to have that ability to be a jack of all trades and do what's asked of you on a mainstream film, and do what's expected of all the other composers out there. But you've got to stand out as well by being your own voice. Yes. Love it. Well said.
Tim, how can people get a hold of you or look at your work? What's the best?
Well, I'm on, just like Jeremy, I'm on, Spotify seems to be the main one. I'm under there as Tim Despic, but I mean, it's the same for Deezer or Apple or Tidal and all those things. I have a website, which is timdespic.com.
Oh, I got it right here.
Got it right there. Yeah. So yeah, that and all the streaming platforms. My recent albums and soundtracks are up there. And that's another thing. I mean, I released a couple of albums because, you know, what I will write on a blank canvas, and I'm not writing to picture, is different to what, you know, one of the things about having a picture in front of you and scoring is I'm going to write something that I wouldn't have written otherwise. Similarly, if you give me a blank canvas, I'm going to write something that's different to if you put that film in front of me. So I like to get back to writing music, not to picture as well, to have that balance, for the ideas that are different to what I would have done for the film. So I'm releasing some out. I just released a couple, and I have a couple more coming out soon.
Oh, great. That's awesome. Well, I'm definitely going right to Spotify. I want to hear some more, and I'm excited to be working with you on our upcoming film on Confessions of a Union Bus.
Yes, very much so.
And just congratulations to all of your success, Tim. And I just thanks for being on the show with us.
Thanks very much for having me on.
You got it. Okay. Film composer, British Canadian, genius, artist, musician, artist with a voice. Tim Despic, thanks for being on. We'll talk to you.
Thanks, Matt. Great to see you.
Right.
Cheers. Bye.
And we'll wrap up the show now. This is Matt Weinglass with the Sherwood Shakeup. This has been an episode of Music and Entertainment. I want to thank our special guests today, Iggy, Jeremy, and Tim, incredibly musicians, sharing their work, sharing their love for the business, their art. We just love engaging with musicians and artists of all sorts on this show, and that's what this show's about. That's what the community of Sherwood is about. Just basically sharing what we can with each other, so we can have the intention to build our own networks, build our art, create, align with people, and grow as artists and as human beings. And we recognize that there are power in numbers, that we are stronger together when we align with like-minded people who share the same passion, the same work ethic, the same drive, the same talent, and frankly have the same courage too, because this industry takes a lot. It takes a lot of heart and focus and longevity, and you got to have a will, you got to have guts, and you got to have courage. But most importantly, you have to have a team, and that's what we're about here at Sherwood Players. So thanks for everyone for tuning in to the Sherwood Shakeup. We're going to be back next Tuesday, same time. We'll have a very special Valentine's Day episode for you guys on Valentine's Day, which happens to be next Tuesday. So we are looking forward to sharing that with you then. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. If you want to get more involved with Sherwood itself, you can just go to any of our socials. We're at Sherwood Players. That's it. Just at Sherwood Players. Here we go. You can check that out right there. And then, of course, if you want to get even more involved, go to our website, sherwoodplayers.com, and you can sign up for our mailing list, and you'll be first to hear about new projects and events. We do live events all the time, and we have auditions for all of our upcoming projects. So please do that. And we hope to see you at our next event. Thanks for coming in. Oh, Madwin Arts, David, thanks. It says, loved all the great info. Thank you so much, David. And to all the other supporting artists and members of the community, thank you for being part of Sherwood and making us stronger as we charge forward into this industry, into the unknown, and be leaders and spearheaders of others and inspire. And that's it. That's what we're about. So Sherwood Players, character driven, and we'll see you guys next time on the Sherwood Shakeup. Okay, take care.